This Go Bold episode is brought to you by Hike Metal, a Canadian shipbuilder proudly building vessels for Canada. Ships designed to serve, protect, and stand ready wherever Canada calls. Learn about them at hikemetal.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Go Bold. My name is Joetey and I'm your host. And I'm coming to you today from Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt in British Columbia, Canada. And I'm joined with Lieutenant Commander Steve Oxley, a longtime guest of Go Bold. We have had the privilege to speak with Steve during the tour of the Max Bernays Arctic offshore patrol vessel. And Steve was also kind to share his memories of the fire on board HMCS Protector, the former HMCS Protector. So if you're interested, please check out those videos. I think you'll find them really interesting and informative. But for today, Steve, you are now the commanding officer of Patrol Craft Training Unit.
I am.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Thank you for welcoming me to your unit and to talk about the Orca-class and some new developments with the Orca-class. What exactly will we be seeing today?
Yeah, so today, this morning, Grizzly 60 is preparing to go out to sea for some naval warfare officer training. On board, we have the new mounted C6 weapon systems that we've just developed and installed on all ships, all 8 ships of the Orca-class, so that they'll now be able to go to sea with a 7.62 capacity for force protection.
And so that's really interesting, Steve. What exactly was the impetus behind this initiative to add these weapon mounts to the ships? Because, as the name implies, Patrol Craft Training Unit, right? So there's a number of roles for you guys. Yeah,
so we're doing the patrol craft, but we're also doing the training aspect here. So FIFA 26, which is the soccer that's going on in Vancouver, was a large driving force to actually get some sort of force protection capacity on board the Orca-class. They've always been a fitted for, but not with kind of capacity for small arms. Mm-hmm. And so now we're actually trying to drive it so that we have the capability and we're able to apply it at sea. So for things like operations, but more so along the lines of training, because there is a huge training element to this, because with the MCDVs going to the wayside, we're looking at opportunities on board this class to give our junior naval warfare officers the opportunity to do things like underway force protection, and weapon shoots at sea. We've even used these things for counter-drone type exercises as well. So from that aspect, it's really operationalizing, but also giving a huge training element to the Orcas that was never had before.
Really, really interesting. So and that's not all from what I understand. I think we'll get into some other things that's happening here at the unit shortly. But yeah, the first thing we're going to do is go look at some of these mounts.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks.
For Canada, security begins at home. It begins with Canadian people, Canadian expertise, and the determination to build what our country needs. Hike Metal is proud to build vessels for the Government of Canada. Ships designed to serve, protect, and stand ready wherever Canada calls. Every weld, every system, every detail reflects a commitment to quality, innovation, and Canadian craftsmanship. Because these aren't just vessels. These are a commitment to Canada's future. Built in Canada, built for service, built for Canada.
So hi, Joetey. So here we are on the Grizzly 60 on the flight deck to show off the new C6 mounts. We have one on the port side, one on the starboard side. We based it on the NST's Defender ribs, the mounts that they have. So we're not reinventing the wheel, but we've essentially what we did was we took the mount, we got it fabricated with Talus. They put some bolts and a screws in here from the deck upwards. So we just bolted it down into the deck, and then we got what's called the C6 swing arm. These are what are found on, my understanding, is Army labs, which is hence the green coloring.
Right.
And we just mounted it to here so that we can have the ability to swing it out and operate it as a mounted weapon on board the Orcas. The ammunition tray is actually on this side of the mount. And the C6 operators will stand here and on the starboard side, so we can have coverage of almost 360 degrees, with the exception slightly aft, slightly forward. But we're understanding that we also have capabilities of C8s and C9s on board too, and those will cover the other arcs that are missing from the C6 here.
Really interesting. Okay, and you were mentioning, Steve, that there's one part here that's still to come as a full, I guess, complete weapon mount, right?
Yeah, so we went with a bit of an iterative process because it was a bit difficult to get the mount and everything else, but we're looking at putting a blast shield on so that it can provide cover to the operator. So there's a few different design concepts which we may incorporate. May be to the guardrail, might be to the mount itself, but we're looking at options to provide that sort of protection for the operator. One of the primary roles of this weapon is to provide visual deterrence, because it's larger than your C9, larger than your C8, and actually can be standing on a mount, so the operator doesn't have to be holding it all the time and looking over the side. It's here, people will see it from the beam, because that's the most likely perspective that they'll see of the ship, and they'll recognize that there is a show of force on board the ship.
Yeah, very, very important. And so from an operational perspective, when did this, how many of the Orca-class boats currently have this? And is it operational now?
So we have enough mounts for all 8 vessels. 6 of them have them installed. It really takes about a day to get them installed, so we can have the other 2 up and running quite quickly. And we have enough weapons to fit out most of the ships at this time.
Fantastic. And with the World Cup currently underway, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to ask, but obviously with the World Cup being a driver for this capability, I would assume that it is in use in Vancouver. Right?
Yeah, so we have one vessel that's assigned to be standby to respond for any sort of World Cup events that could occur. Mm-hmm. And it's fully equipped with the C6s, small arms, all of the force protection kits, so like the body armor, the communication systems that are required for that sort of stuff.
Right, and I'm just going to pivot here real quick, Steve, and in the distance here, we'll see some decommissioned MCDV vessels, and the reason why I'm doing that is there's a connection between this weapon mount and the MCDVs.
Yes, so the weapon system mount is essentially enabling us to do some of the capabilities that the MCDVs used to provide the military, which is the MCDVs had the 50 cal, so they could provide force protection, but this enables the Orcas to do the exact same kind of local operations with C6s. The thing is that yes, they're a smaller caliber, but when you look at it from the perspective of these ships can't go out to the open ocean, they're designed for internal waters only. These are much less likely to do collateral damage. We can actually fire them in local areas. Like the safety firing arcs for 50 cal is massive, and there's only a few places on the inside coast where you can actually fire the 50 cal. Here, this is much easier to fire and open up a practice range to be able to shoot. So they make a lot of sense from that perspective, but also from a training perspective. We took the 50 cal drill manual, and we just switched the 50 cal name for the C6 name, and we use that drill manual to train on this system, so that when the operators here go to the heavies, they can it's much more seamless, and it enables us to practice those drills and procedures.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think one of the other aspects with regards to the MCDVs was the law enforcement ISO container that was on there. There's a connection there as well, I believe.
Yes, so all the force protection equipment that I talked about earlier needs a place to store. And so with the law enforcement detachment pod that was on there and removed, we took that pod and we placed it up in our sea container farm. And in that pod, we'll place all the ballistic vests, communication systems, anything that needs some sort of a air conditioning unit, so that we can both store and then supply the ships as they go out to sea.
Right on. That is awesome. And now I think we're going to have one of your colleagues just demonstrate how this mount works and some of the arcs of fire that it's got. And then I guess I'll ask him how is the weapon? What's the word I'm looking for? How is the weapon? How do you engage? Like the comms between the bridge and the actual weapon mount itself.
Perhaps I'll grab the radios.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's it's just all handheld radio.
Yeah.
Okay. So perfect. Well, Steve, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing this, and yeah, we'll transition over to your colleague here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Here we are on board the Grizzly, and I'm joined with Lieutenant Justin Raspier. Lieutenant, you're going to talk us through this mount and describe some of the way that it's going to be employed.
Yeah, for sure, Joetey. Okay, so I'll go through the mount first.
Sure.
So basically, as the commanding officer was mentioning, this was designed for the light armored vehicle, but it actually works perfectly for our Orca-class vessels. Adjustability, you can adjust for different heights of operator here, and then it has a different adjustability for swing arm too. So this is in the stored position. We can also store it with it facing aft or forward, depending on what we want to do. And then we have covers on them when they're not being used to protect them from the sun and also rain and sea.
Sure.
So to adjust this, it's pretty easy. You just pop the pin, flip the arm, and then you have full adjustability. So our arcs of fire are pretty much straight aft almost, and then also straight forward. With the swing arm, it adds extra safety so that it's very difficult to point in towards the ship, as you can see.
Right.
So once we have it unlocked, then we can adjust it and move it. If I wanted to move it forward, and as I said, with my position here, it's very hard to be pointing it towards the ship. So that's one of the extra safety pieces with this weapon.
Right.
Now, when we're closing up the C6 operators, what would happen is we would be closing up our underway force protection component. Included in that component is the captain of the vessel. You have 2 upper deck sentries with C8 rifles, and then you have 2 C6 operators. The C6 operators are also controlled directly by the weapons directing officer, which would be one of the officers on board that would normally be standing bridge watch keeping, but they would be filling that role. For communications, we have the UHF comm suite here. So this is the UHF radio that we use on board. We have handsets and we have headsets for this. So the C6 operators use the headsets, and it has pass-through so that they can hear around them, but if they were to fire the weapon, it would stop the decibels from damaging their ears, and then it also links into the UHF so that the weapons directing officer can direct them as necessary. And so when we would be closing this up, 2 different scenarios. One scenario would be if you knew that you had to close up the underway force protection component right in the future, and then that would be like a slow time evolution with everybody closing up, getting into their positions, doing their comms checks, and then carrying out the task. The other scenario would be if there was a threat that we had to engage, and so that would be a quick time close up where everybody's trying to get the weapons. The weapon may or may not be mounted already, depending on the threat environment. And that would be a quicker close up with essentially everybody moving double time, trying to get up to their positions so that they could engage a threat if necessary.
Right on. Well, Justin, thank you so much for explaining a little bit about this new mount. You know, it's great to see new capability on these Orca-class vessels, and yeah, it's nice to see that that we aren't reinventing the wheel, that we're using some proven stuff, both from the Army and from the Naval security team and their Defender boats. So yeah, really exciting stuff here.
For sure.
Thank you very much. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Our thanks to Hike Metal for their support of this exclusive Go Bold video. Learn more about them at hikemetal.com.